So, as you know, learning HTML, CSS could be a pain in the ass because you could go down the rabbit hole. And let's be frank, we're not all designers. We don't have design backgrounds. We're not teaching design here. We're just teaching full stack web development. So you don't have to be good at HTML and CSS because it does take a lot of time to actually get good at that. But what's nice is that there are certain design, I won't say best practices, or like certain design ethos or just patterns that gain popularity throughout the years. You can tell when you see an old website, you're like, oh, that's an old website. But what makes that website old is just the design over the years. It's almost like fashion. It changes, it gradually changes. But with that, Bootstrap is a very popular CSS framework. If you really want to know all the different types of CSS frameworks, you can literally just type in CSS Frameworks. What are some good ones? So like Bootstrap is probably the most popular one. Tailwind CSS, Foundation, Bulma, I don't know, Skeleton. What else?
Is Sass a framework?
Sass is not a framework. Sass is just another way to write CSS. It gives CSS essentially, it extends the functionality of CSS, makes it a little more dynamic. So CSS, or I'm sorry, Sass is still CSS, but you're essentially almost able to put like variables and like there's certain syntax that you can use to extend like the CSS. But where is like materialized, semantic? Where's the one I'm looking for? That's like pure CSS. I don't know. All right. So let's look at Bootstrap. So you can Bootstrap CSS. It's super easy. You do have to read through the documentation a little bit, but let's see. So this is an old, looking for Bootstrap 4. So make sure you're like on the most up-to-date version. So I think this is currently 5.1. Let's look at 4.6. All right, let's just go back to, this is like the actual Bootstrap, most up-to-date. You can literally say like, scroll down to see what you can do, how to get started, but clicking getting started is the easiest way. So I'm gonna come over here and touch an HTML, like an index.html file, and open that up. What did I just do? There we go. And I'm just going to create a boilerplate. H1, hello world. There we go. And I want to open this up just so you can see, I'll see it. So you can easily get started by just like you would import your styles.css file here. You can do pretty much the same thing, but copy this whole thing, this link tag, all the way up into here as well. So I'm just going to actually get rid of that. And you can have multiple link tags inside of your head. So I'm linking here, and this link tag is referencing this URL, which it's a style sheet. I don't know what this integrity is. It looks like this is a SHA, not encrypted, hash. So this right here, this URL gives access to this, gives Bootstrap access to this website, or gives, essentially gives Bootstrap, allows me to use Bootstrap throughout this entire web page. So if I go ahead and refresh this, notice how it kind of changes right now. And I can copy this entire URL and post it into here. And this is all the CSS that Bootstrap is. This is all just Bootstrap. It's literally just like writing a styles.css file and writing raw CSS, but this is what this is. This is all Bootstrap. And the reason why it's not very readable is because it's got this min right here. So computers are really good at parsing through just pure text or pure CSS like this, but this isn't very readable. So in order to save some space, so not having to put things on new lines, it has this it's minified. But if I remove that, you can literally see this is what Bootstrap is. It's just raw CSS. It's got this root. It's got all these different colors that are associated with it. Media. So we've got body, margin 0, font family, all this. So this is all what Bootstrap is. You can literally copy this entire thing over into your CSS file, which, believe it or not, some companies actually do and modify Bootstrap's CSS. But yeah. So this is just Bootstrap. And this is just like importing all Bootstrap into our web page. Any questions on how to get Bootstrap into your web page?
I have a question with regards to adding Bootstrap and then like your own style sheet. Is that possible?
Yep. So you could have multiple link tags or multiple style sheets inside of your entire web page. So just like I have here, if I created a styles.css, I could also have like body H1 or sorry. Font size like so. And so I'm like simultaneously utilizing both my internal style CSS as well as Bootstraps. So right here, I linked my external style sheets. And right here, I'm also linking to Bootstrap. So yes, you can use multiple. And it's common to do both because Bootstrap might not fit everything your entire needs.
Can you talk about CDNs?
So yeah, content delivery network. This just means that I think it gives us access. It allows us to grab all Bootstrap through this CDN, content delivery network. I believe that's what it is. So yeah, it's pretty much what it delivers Bootstrap directly to our web page. However, with this CDN means in order to use Bootstrap, if I were to ever use or lose my Wi-Fi or not be connected to the internet, I would not have access to this. So that's why some companies will literally copy over Bootstrap into their native CSS files. Any other questions?
Yeah. Is there a order in which the style sheet should go?
So it does read top to bottom. So it'll read this styles this CSS file first, and then I'll read this one. So if this one comes after it, this one, then the Bootstrap takes precedence. But typically you might want something like that. So with Bootstrap, so that's just how you import it. And what's really nice about Bootstrap, it gives you everything. So if I scroll down here a little bit, let's see, it'll give you an entire starter template. So you can literally just paste that entire thing in there, and it gives you access to that CDN. It also, Bootstrap also has some like JavaScript for like on clicks and stuff. And you can use that as well by using these, I don't know what Popper JS is. I don't know if that's some kind of framework or something, but this also essentially, if you paste in their starter template, you'll have access to all of Bootstrap's capability. So if I refresh that, same thing. Any other questions on how to get started? So I guess it says only choose one of the two.
I think that JavaScript gives you access to stuff like pagination and alerts and like extra stuff.
Yep. Yeah. That's 100% right. And there's other stuff. Yeah. Like I don't really use the JavaScript portion of like Bootstrap, but yeah, that's an example of what it would give you capabilities of doing. So it's like, okay, cool. Now that we have Bootstrap and like a starter template of HTML, we can actually go in and actually start looking at components and forms, and like you can read through it, like how to customize it with Sass, colors, and various different ways to customize it, as well as like layouts. But essentially, essentially the way Bootstrap, everything is done through classes for the most part. So depending on what your class name is dependent on how your Bootstrap or how your things will be styled. So for example, under components, so components and forms are probably the most you'll be utilizing. So if I look at a component, and you can come down here and look at like navs or navbar, and you can see an example navbar, as well as the HTML with all the class names to create that navbar. And you can scroll down, you can see various different types of navbars. So ones without any links, ones with an image, like a logo, different links. Let's keep going. You can also do like a drop down. So you can kind of see right here with a drop down link. One with a form, like a search field. That's what I had in my to-do list. Keep going. You can also do color schemes. So again, your nav class is navbar dark, background dark. So navbar dark, background primary. So like this dark means the background is black. This primary is the background is blue. Or you can just do inline styling by overriding the background color. So if I wanted to utilize one of these, so let's just go up to the very top one, like so. I can copy that navbar, like so. Come over here, refresh, and now I've got this nav bar. Maybe I don't need a this drop down link. So I can literally just, where is it? Remove this entire, like so. And there, maybe I don't want this to be disabled. So that this disabled class name, that will literally just disable your entire link. So now if I wanted to change the color, so nav bar light, but I just want to do dark, dark, like so. And there it's now it's dark. And so also here, like this form, when I hover over it. So if I scroll down to here, search, placeholder search, this class button outline. If maybe I just don't want this to be hoverable and I just want it to be a solid color. Success means it's green. So now it's just green. Maybe I want to change it to a different color like info. Now I just changed it to like a cool blue. And if you don't know the colors, you can literally say like color schemes. Where is it? There's a way, I think it's like Bootstrap colors. So under utilities, you can kind of see the different colors: primary, secondary, success, danger, warning, info, light, dark, muted. And so anything text.primary, secondary, success, these are all the different colors you can use. So that's just like a nav bar. I'd highly encourage you to look through this. You can do accordions, which are kind of cool for your web page. Buttons, all these different types of buttons.
Hey, Tom, I have a quick question. If you're adding your own personal stuff to that nav bar, do you need to use the same classes that are already existing? So like, I noticed that like they have the list and then class equals nav item. If you want to add your own thing, do you use that same class?
So hold on, say that again. So
like, let's say I wanted to add.
oh, yes.
after-
Yeah.
You can put your own class with it as well.
Yep.
I thought so,
So-
but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, you have to use their classes or it's not gonna work.
So if you don't put any class with it, it won't work.
So
Okay.
it just won't be styled. So if I
Okay.
do like navlink, an empty class, or just like my custom class, see it now, it just goes back to like the basic HTML link styling.
Okay. Thank you.
But you can add additional items here. So like my custom class as well. And everything
Just
will
add
still.
ID.
So say that again, Latasha.
I normally just add an ID. That way I have an ID in the class.
Yep. Or you can add an ID as well. So if you want to like have an ID, my custom ID, name, whatever, you can add that as well. But yeah, there's like a bunch of different items you can use, like a modal. If you don't know what a modal is, it's like a little, I want to say it's a pop-up, but it's essentially like a pop-up. So I want to see like an example right here. If I launch a modal, this is what a modal is. It's not an alert. It's an actual kind of like almost like a pop-up. Like so. Where's other stuff? So you got pagination, spinners. So if you like load stuff, you can add all, like it's literally has everything you'll need to create an application. Toasts, like if you ever want to know what like certain things on web pages are, like I don't even know how you describe that. This is what a toast is. So like this little pop-up at the very bottom, that's a toast. And there's the code for it. but it also uses that JavaScript. Scroll spy, I don't know what that is. Oh, okay. So yeah, you can, that's kind of cool. Popover, placeholders, off canvas, don't know what that is. Where are the cards? So cards are really useful. So you can create like little cards. So if I just wanted to create a card, come down here, add a card. And there we've got a card. It's like, all right, well, what about spacing? Like, how do I add some margin, padding, and everything? Again, everything's done with classes. So if I wanted to do class, I think it's like M for margin, 5 for like how much margin I want around it. So that you can also do like MX, which is like, I think left and right. Yeah, so left and right margin. Is it MP? No, MY. I don't know what, I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. But you can also do padding with like P. And there you go. And margin 5 or margin 2. Actually, let's do padding to margin 5. There you go. So you can easily style and get a decent looking website or application up and running just by sheer how it looks with relatively quickly just by using Bootstrap. What else? Does anyone else have any questions about Bootstrap or anything?
I've got a question for you, Tom.
Yep.
Okay, so when we're like done with this class and we're out actually like job hunting and building our own portfolio and personal projects, would potential employers view using like Bootstrap or just frameworks in general, would they view that as like use like kind of like a crutch?
No. Nope. So 90% of the time you will be using some sort of CSS framework with a mix of flavor of whatever the company, some other customization that the company will use. So like you might use Bootstrap, you might use Tailwind, you might use Materialize or Material UI. This is like another one, but specifically for React. And so it's like at my first company, we explicitly used Material UI that has like all this like stuff for certain items. And again, it's just kind of like a design pattern. And your designers will be like, will look at these and be like, okay, if we're gonna use an accordion, we're gonna use Material UI's accordion. And so like that's all the code. So if you do have experience using Bootstrap, Material UI, Tailwind, all the other different CSS frameworks, that's good. Yeah, good question. Any other questions? So yeah, you can just keep looking through all the different types of close button. I don't know why that, but all right.